Did you know 50-50 custody with no child support can actually reduce divorce rate? What am I talking about? Stick around and you'll find out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of 2.0. I am so happy you can join us. Listen, if you're a returning member of the 2.0 family, we are happy that you can join us for another episode. I just want to thank you for your love and support. We appreciate it. And if you're a new member just scrolling by and you happen to come across one of our videos and you're checking us out to see what we're all about, I just want to thank you. I'd like to extend the invitation to you to go ahead and hit subscribe. And also don't forget to hit the notification bell so that every time we drop an episode, you, my friend, will be notified to check it out. So what am I talking about today? So there's been a lot of videos out. I came across a bunch of videos on TikTok that is talking about how 50-50 custody actually reduces the number of divorce, right? When there is 50-50 custody between the man and the woman and there's no child support payment involved, it actually reduces the divorce rate. You don't believe me? Check out some of those videos.
Divorces in Kentucky just collapsed by 25%. They became the first state in America to pass a law making 50-50 custody the default. And the moment that happened, something incredible was exposed.
Open your eyes.
When women realized they could no longer cash out through the courts, divorce filing dropped. Overnight, the cash out game is over. For decades, divorce was treated like a jackpot. Mom walks away with the kids. Mom walks away with the check. And dad? He's reduced to a weekend visitor and a paycheck. What happens when the whole country follows? Because make no mistake, it's coming. And when it does, the divorce industry won't just shrink, it'll collapse. For the first time in decades, fathers won't be disposable. Kids won't lose a parent. And women won't be able to cash out of marriage like it's a business deal. That's not oppression. That's equality.
Did you see, I think it's Kentucky. Do you see where Kentucky automatically said 50% custody and no child support when you get divorced?
Divorce rates are dropping in Kentucky. I went there to figure out why. In 2018, Kentucky became the first state to make 50-50 shared custody the default. That means that children split their time equally between both parents, and fathers pay less in child support the more time that they spend with their children. Before that, judges decided custody based on what they called the best interest of the child. Fathers said that usually relegated them to an every other weekend arrangement, the so-called Disneyland dad effect, while mothers got to spend most of the time with their children. Since the law passed, divorce rates have dropped. Between 2016 and 2023, divorces in the state fell 25%, compared to 18% nationwide. It's hailed as a victory for fathers' rights.
So yes, that's right. Like I said, plenty of other videos. I mean, there are so many of them. If I was to play each and every single one for you tonight, we would not have enough time to fit them all in. But I am happy to say that the state of Kentucky is the first one to start this initiative. It's not something new. Apparently, this is a law that started back in 2018. But ever since then, they are seeing the impact of that law because they are saying that divorce rate has actually dropped by 20 or to 25% in the state of Kentucky ever since they implemented that law. So what does it mean? 50-50 custody. Listen, for me, as all of you know, right, I'm not, I don't believe in divorce. I don't promote divorce. And especially when there are kids involved, it is, is something that I truly care about. And I always encourage people, if there is a way to work things out, if there's a way to fix things, that's what I would recommend. And that's what I would hope for, because it doesn't make sense to break a family. It doesn't benefit anybody, especially when kids are involved. So what we've been seeing in recent years or in past years is that whenever there is a divorce, whenever there is a split, the mother always, I want to say maybe 80 to 90%, will end up with custody, with full custody of the kids. And sometimes the father end up with having to see the kid every other weekend. I was faced with that situation, and giving the type of person that I am, I was like, you know what? No, I don't want. I mean, I know going in, I wanted to have my son at least 50% of the time. I never wanted to be the every other weekend dad, So I'm happy we have a great relationship. We have a great co-parenting relationship. So even though it is 50-50, but we don't, we don't abide by the whole 50-50. We kind of let my son dictate the schedule. If he want to spend more time with me, he does. If you want to spend some time with her, he does. But you know what? He's a daddy's boy. So, but anyways, so yeah. So in my case, I know that I wanted to have my son 50% of the time, at least 50% of the time. And I'm happy that I was able to do that. But as we know, it's not in every situation where the man always have the opportunity to have their kids for 50% of the time. And unfortunately, sometimes we find certain situations where the mother is still bitter about the downfall of the relationship or the breakdown of the relationship or whatever the cause of the relationship was. And unfortunately, they end up using the kids as pawns in the relationship as a way to make the father suffer, not realizing that when you do that, it's not just the father who's suffering, but the kids are suffering as well. Their relationship with their father, the opportunity to bond and create a deeper level, a deeper relationship with the father, that is impacted as well. So when you do that, I know you're acting out of anger, you're acting out of disappointment, but I just want to challenge you that when you do that, or I just want to remind you when you do that, you are actually impacting the kid's life as well. So there are some psychological issues, there are some traumas that are being created. So I encourage you to look past that. But going back to the 50-50 custody that we're talking about. So when the parents, when the woman ends up with full custody, so unfortunately now the man has to pay child support, and depending on how much money the man is making, relatively to what the woman is making, so a lot of times the man ends up paying child support, and a lot of women, they rely on the child support to take care of the kid, if you know what I mean. I mean, you've seen plenty of videos of how, the child support is spent. But anyways, the fact that they know they can rely on the child support payment that is coming in, so they use that as supplemental income to, to carry on and help support the bills. So that's why it's kind of like easy for them to say, you know what? I'm going to walk away from this. I'm not going to stay in this relationship anymore. I'm just going to pack up my stuff and I'm going to go. I'm going to move on. Knowing that, the man is going to be responsible. He's going to be charged with paying child support. So she can still rely on that payment to, to carry on with her life. And that's what usually, I think, makes it a little easier for, for women to just, pick up, pack up and leave, and not to mention they do get additional support from the state as well. So when that factors in, so they feel like, well, you know what, I don't need a man, but my thing is, again, I understand. Like I said, I don't promote divorce, but I do understand that there are certain situations where it is, unfortunately, it may be necessary. So in those cases, I understand. But the case that I'm talking about, or the cases I'm talking about, is where somebody wakes up today and they say, you know what? Oh, I'm no longer happy. I don't feel, I don't feel satisfied in this marriage. I don't, I'm not, he's, he's not taking care of me, or he doesn't make me feel this. I'm not happy about it. And because of that, I'm just going to pack up my stuff and leave. Right. As I said on my last show, a lot of women nowadays are leaving their husband, who they claim is a good guy, because, they tired of it, or they get bored, and they're going on social media telling other women that it's okay to leave a good guy. So when you're leaving a good guy, right, you're packing up the kids, you are granted full custody. So now the man who did not want the separation, who did not want the divorce, who wants to be involved in his kid's life, who wants to have a relationship with his kids, now that man is being charged to pay child support because you decided that you are no longer happy. You no longer want to be in this, marriage. You no longer want to be in this institution that is, orchestrated by God. You no longer want to be in that institution. You're going to pack up and leave. And now this poor guy has to continue to support your lifestyle. Now that's what I'm talking about. That's the unfairness that I'm talking about. So now, according to what's happening in Kentucky, is that they're realizing the fact that there is an automatic default whenever there is a split, there is a separation, or there's a divorce, there's an automatic split 50-50. So that means the man automatically by default gets 50% of the, 50% of the custody, and same thing for the woman. So now that it's even, so guess what? In some cases, there's no child support. So you don't have to pay child support, right? So now, because they don't have to pay child support, that additional funding or that additional support is not coming in for the woman. So now they're thinking twice about it. They're thinking twice about it. So it's not as easy for them to just pack up and say, you know what, forget this, I'm out. I'm no longer happy. I'm just gonna pack up the kids, I'm gone. Because if you do that, the man will end up with 50% custody, and he doesn't have to pay child support. And you need the income that is coming in order to sustain, the lifestyle. There's a lot of pushback about that as well. There are some complaints about that, because especially for people who are in abusive relationships, now they're saying, well, you know what? If the father is an abusive father, now he's going to have the kid 50% of the time, so he's going to continue to abuse the kid. I understand in that situation. Listen, we're never ever going to get it right 100%. But at the same time, you have to understand there are women who are using the kids as pawns as well, and don't want the guy to see their kids. They're dragging them back and forth to court. Every time they have to get visitation, it's always a hassle. I mean, think about it. You give birth to your kid, you've been raising your kid, you've been taking care of your kid, and now you've gone through a separation, or you're going through a divorce, and now you have to be you have to be awarded visitation, right? To spend time with your kid, spend time with your son, your boy, to take him to the park and throw the football around and, play catch. Now you have to be awarded by a court system. And to make matters worse, in some cases, they have what's called supervised visit, meaning that they don't trust the man to be with his kid alone. So now there has to be a third party involved to supervise them. Think about that. So this is what we're talking about. So now that the law has implemented, and it's been implemented since 2018, and we're seeing a decrease in that. So I'm thinking, this is a good thing, and I think there are a couple of other states that are following suit. They're going to start implementing the same law as well, and I think it's going to be great. It's going to be great for the fathers. It's going to be great for the kids. Now they get to spend time with their dads without having to. Without having to feel bad or feel like they're betraying someone. So now the kid, the man will have full access to his kids, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a great it's a great way to it's a great thing that is happening. And listen, if it's one way of saving marriages, if it's one way of saving families, I think it's worth looking into, and it's worth promoting. At least people are not so easy to pull families apart or to break the family and chase their own happiness. As I always, as I said before in past episodes, there is a saying out there that says, a man will sacrifice his happiness for the family, but a woman will sacrifice the family for her happiness. Think about that. Well, that's all I had for you today. I'm happy you were able to participate and join us for another episode. So do me a favor, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the topic. Let me know how you feel about it. Would you like to see the 50-50 custody implemented in your state? Leave a comment below and let me know. As I always say, guys, myself, I don't promote divorce. I don't believe in divorce, but I do understand there are certain situations that calls for it. If that's the case for you, I understand. But listen, if there is a way to work it out, I encourage you to stick through it and work it out. And remember, guys, live every day as if it is your last day, because one day it will be. I'm JR. Thanks for watching 2.0. I'll see you next time. Peace.